So inside of Torah, we've been these past couple of weeks, we're in Genesis, and the past couple of weeks we've been with Abraham and Sarah, Avraham, the Sarah, who we just mentioned in that Hamidah prayer, the patriarchs and the matriarchs. And here we are at the beginning of this Torah portion, and we hear that Sarah's lifetime, the span of Sarah's life, Chaye Sarah, which is the name of this Torah portion and the beginning words. The span of Sarah's life came to 127 years, and Sarah died. The life of Sarah is Chaye Sarah, is the name of this portion. And we hear about Sarah's death. And Abraham proceeded to mourn Sarah and to bewail her. And right before this portion, just before in Torah, if we scroll just a little bit behind there, is the major experience of the binding of Isaac, being bound up by his father Abraham, and his father Abraham being ready to sacrifice Isaac. The Akedah. That happens, and then we hear that Sarah has died. Perhaps of shock. So in this portion, Abraham is mourning Sarah, and he's finding a grave site for her and a cave. And then he's tending to finding someone for his child, Isaac, Yitzhak, someone for Isaac to marry. What about Isaac? He's not heard from until pretty far into this parsha. And when we do hear, we hear that he has come back from a place called Be'er Lachai Ro'i, the well of the one who sees. And I was looking at that well this week and just was getting really drawn in to this well. And I read a teaching by Erica Davis and another one by Rabbi Shefa Gold that both pointed me in a direction that I had not traveled inside of Torah, which was finding the connection with this well to it being the same place where Hagar had gone when she had been kicked out. And I hate to say it, the first time. There were two dramatic moments of Hagar's leaving. He goes to be in this same place. Isaac, after this incredible trauma that he's just gone through with his father, goes to be with Hagar and possibly Ishmael, his brother. And who's Hagar? Like, you're saying all these names, Rabbi. Who are these people? Well, you might recall that earlier in the book of Genesis, we learn about this family of Abraham and Sarah and Hagar and their children, Ishmael and Isaac. Hagar is the mother of Ishmael. And when Sarah didn't think that she could get pregnant, she asked and suggested to Abraham that Abraham have a child with her maidservant Hagar, and that child was Ishmael. And when things got difficult for Hagar the first time, she leaves for a time, and she has an encounter after encounter with an angel, several angels that encourage her to return. And the place that this happens is at Be'er Lachai Ro'i. She does return. She does return. And then there is another time when Sarah gets pregnant and has a child, Yitzhak, Isaac, and Sarah feels filled with jealousy and rage and fear. And she asks for Hagar to be expelled from this community, this family. And Abraham is greatly distressed by this. And just as in the previous time, there is a reassurance from God and from an angel that Hagar and Ishmael will be okay. They will be cared for. They will be okay. And now, after all of the trauma that Isaac has just gone through, he goes to this place of Hagar, to be with her. We don't hear anything about this time in Torah. We don't know what happens there when Isaac goes. We just know that he goes there and that he's returning. Of course, he'd go to be with Hagar. She's the other parent figure in his life. It was one of those weeks where I was like, why did I not see that before? Of course, he goes to be with Hagar to find comfort after an incredible trauma and then the loss of his mother. Family in Torah. Torah families are layered and complex with multiple adults and kids. There are very rarely two-parent households. You're hard-pressed to find one. Rivka and Isaac, but it's hard to find them. There are very few examples of two-parent families in Torah. Most Torah families have multiple partners, multiple parents, kids from different mothers, all living together. And in a couple chapters, we scroll that way in the Torah, we'll be coming to the story of Jacob and Jacob's family, 4 women who birth and raise 13 children. These are Torah families. As a kid, I had a strange fascination with listening to a radio show called Focus on the Family. You may remember this? Yeah. It's a very strange fascination, but I was so into it. Even though it was like against me and my family. Because what was incredible to me was how they were shaping perception of family by their language and the words they chose and the repetition of it culturally again and again through this media source of this radio show. They were going again and again. So intentional, their word choices. For example, family values. They really elevated this idea of family values. And of course, the famous gay agenda. And they often cited the Bible as their source and foundation of their worldview. This was infuriating to me and painful as a kid, because what the values they were talking about were like mean and full of prejudice and hate and judgment about my family. Were those family values? Was it family values to call my family dangerous and wrong because of who my mother loved? It was wild to me to see how all these ideas were being shared and repeated all around the culture. So it came to the point where then and still now, if you were to say, I believe in family values, I think we'd have a particular idea of what you meant. And it became linked with this perspective on many topics that were closed and filled with bias, family values. And also there's this term traditional families. I mean, I don't know what tradition they're talking about. But in our tradition, if you look in the Torah, the Bible, another word for it, the Hebrew Bible, we see what I would accurately be able to call a traditional family, a Torah family. And these families, and they are not the structure of families that are claimed as traditional families in our contemporary culture. They are mostly not two-parent, one-man, one-woman families. Moses was adopted. He's a kid with 2 families. Esther is adopted by Mordecai. Jacob and Rachel and Leah and Zilpah and Bilhah were a family. Abraham and Sarah and Hagar. So when people say these things like, oh, so you guys are making a new kind of family, like a not traditional, very, very new family, No, we're making a traditional Torah family. So here in this room, inside of this Shabbat service, in this room that is used for Shabbat and also used as a church and used as a place of interfaith gatherings of all kinds, I would like to offer a tikkun, a healing for any of you that were told that your families were shameful or wrong, either then or now. I'm offering this to each of us. I'm offering this to myself. If there was judgment or shame on our families, on behalf of the religion, on behalf of the Bible, I am so sorry. You had a Torah family, or you have a Torah family now. I was in a Torah family as a kid, and now as an adult, I am in a Torah family. And inside of Torah, family is created for different reasons that we could relate to. For example, out of necessity, to save Moses from an unsafe situation in the land that he was living in, an oppressive situation, he was adopted. Families now are being shaped and created by migrants and refugees, or through the death of a parent, like in the case of Esther, which it can also extend to foster and adopt parents, where a parent is not able to parent. So many reasons of necessity right now, just like in ancient times, are creating and shaping families. Another reason in Torah that families are created is longing to have a child, longing to have children. And there were creative ways that they figured out to do that in Torah. And there are creative ways that we are figuring out how to do that now, to have children, to raise children. And then there's love. Love inside of Torah also creates a family. And in this portion, we see a beautiful love between Isaac and Rivka, Rebecca, in this Torah portion. And we learn also about Rachel and Jacob soon, and about their forming a family, which ended up having multiple adults. And it's from a place of love. And maybe here, this place of love is the connection between Hagar and Isaac, as he goes to see her and be comforted by her, and the brother Ishmael after the trauma that he's experienced. The Torah family that I'm in now is created from love and from also a dear one's longing to have a child. And many of you who know this terrain intimately, you're in queer family or families created and shaped and layered in different ways. You're in a Torah family. We know that we struggle to find the words. How do we describe what it is? Just like those suckers gave us focus on the family. Why don't we start talking about focusing on our families, on our family values, and on our Torah and traditional biblical families? We need to find the names and the words to claim them, because, oh man, it can be hard to find the words, no? It can be hard to find the words to describe and give meaning to our families. Simple questions can be hard to answer because we don't always have the words to describe our families. And words in our tradition, names in our tradition, they create worlds. Names, words create worlds. Names hold such meaning in Torah. There are name changes in times of transformation, like with Sarai becoming Sarah, and Avram becoming Avraham as they began on a journey, and Jacob becoming Israel when he's going through a journey of transformation. Names help us to transform. They're part of our transformation. Children are given names inside of Torah with beautiful meanings and significance, and places hold names of meaning and significance. Some years ago, I had someone reach out to me and say, Rabbi, I need your help. I'm creating family. I'm having a donor who's helping me to create a family, to have a child. And I would like a name for that donor, something from our tradition. Can you help me to create a name that I could tell my child? And she kept swirling around this idea of the generosity, the beautiful generosity of the donor. So she came, and as we talked, she arrived at the idea of calling the donor Nadav, or Hanadav, the generous one. And that is what she called the donor, of the possibility that allowed her to have a child. We need to draw from our traditional narratives and also create anew in these moments, new names, new words based on what we draw out and learn from these, our shaping stories. And also we need to change because, yes, hello, I am aware of the patriarchal thread through many of these tales of family. I'm not ignoring. Of course, Isaac went to go be with Hagar and with Ishmael. What would he have called her, this other parental figure in his life? At this end of the parsha, we hear that Abraham marries again. His wife's name is Keturah, and many traditional commentators say, in fact, this is Hagar. What are the words for these relationships that we can find that may have been lost or that we can create anew? When Isaac returns from where he has traveled, we are told he is coming from Be'er Lachai Roi, the well of one who sees me, the well of one who sees me, the divine who sees us, the humans who see us. In his time of need, he needed to go. Isaac needed to go where he could be seen. Yes, this deep, deep well where we can be seen and known. This is what we need in making family. And maybe this is a family that we've always had, a family that sees us. Mazel tov if that's the case for you. And maybe it's a family that we need to create. Torah families. May you find the Be'er a deep well of those who see you. May you create families who can see you, and may we find the words and the names to help us create new worlds. Shabbat Shalom.